Councillor Matlow.
Through you, Madam Speaker, to the City Manager. Could you just confirm, how close are we to our self-imposed debt ceiling?
Yeah. Through you, Madam Speaker, so we will be at the debt ceiling by 2020, so in a few years.
So we're scraping the top of the
right now.
ceiling
I believe we're around 12.5, and under the existing capital plan that's approved, we'd be at the 15% by 2020.
So we don't have a lot of room for a lot of our priorities. And would you just reconfirm how many billions of dollars do we have now of unfunded capital commitments?
20.
So the number that we showed in the presentation is 29. That will change, and that will change a little bit with the Executive Committee recommendations and potentially some approvals going forward. What we are going to do, and what we are going to do is revisit and confirm that number as part of this budget process.
So you expect, based on the potential of approvals of the Executive Committee recommendations now, that $29 billion will grow?
I would expect that some of the staff reviews, including agency reviews, will make the numbers go down. But yes, if other items are approved, it will make that go up.
So, for example, if we approve the transit plan as proposed through Executive Committee, will we continue to be making large commitments of unfunded capital promises without any secure or specific allocation of funds?
It will be adding to the existing pressure, yes.
If we do that, what's your best advice if we did have options on transit to go with a plan that had the great potential for fewer operating burdens on us and a commitment already of perpetual maintenance costs covered by another order of government? Or should we take on, over the next 60 years, that burden? What would you advise?
So the advice from the Deputy City Managers and I has been clear. The City will need to undertake the appropriate city building investments. To the extent that those are not yet affordable under our current plan, we will need to continue to squeeze operating, and to the extent that is not sufficient, we will need to look at incremental revenue, potentially asset and other options.
So we have no plan, though. We just have to look into what the plan might be.
And Council has asked me to come forward with a long-term fiscal plan that will offer that advice.
It's a great leap of faith, isn't it?
I appreciate the confidence.
With respect to the 2%, excuse me, I believe the Mayor, if I may just continue my line of questions. Thank you, sir. With respect to the request of staff in this direction to cut 2.6%. For every division. I heard your arguments for that number, and I read your arguments, but would there not have been a way to perhaps more thoughtfully consider each division's needs? Perhaps there might be one where we could actually find savings of 5%, but there might be another one which is factually under-resourced, which might need a 1% investment.
I appreciate the question. It is, if I can editorialize, a great question. And I need to make two kind of very important points. This is a starting point. Both respect to the $29 billion. That's a number that exists arbitrarily. It takes the full sum of pressures. It does not include, for example, for federal or provincial contributions that may happen. So that number will vary substantially. The reason that we take the overall approach is simply because at this point that would actually be a policy judgment by staff about which is more important. What we will do as staff is we will look very carefully. The devil is in the details here. It's not straightforward. We will understand what it means to save approximately 3% on operating on each program basis. We will bring advice back to Council, as Council will do. So this is a starting point. We expect the variation to come not at the starting point, but in the policy advice and then Council's decision going forward.
If you do find that there's evidence that the division may have demands on them or they are truly under-resourced, you would vary the 2.6% demand?
Absolutely, and you would expect us to do that.
Lastly, I just asked you to consider a hypothetical, just to consider, that if we have imposed too much on a credit card that we have, and we don't know exactly how to service that credit card yet. Perhaps it would be wiser to think about how to pay off some of that now, rather than to continue loading it up.
That was your last question.
So the long-term model does not yet work. We will need to work and bridge from this short-term approach to the longer term.
Thank you.
And that will include debt management.
Councillor